Let me see if I am online. Let me see. I'm connecting. Connecting. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching this. I'm online on YouTube, I can see that, and for some reason the Twitch is not connecting. Anyways, I'll just go ahead and proceed. I hope that would be fine. Well, I would do a little bit of talking before people start to show up, hopefully. And for those of you who will watch it not in live stream, so today's discussion would be Magnus Carlsen Invitational, all his wins. So it has been quite some time since they started playing. In 1 hour, according to the schedule, they would start the next round. So the tournament situation goes like this: Magnus is in the lead and Hikaru is second. Magnus beat Hikaru in the match. Otherwise, they both won the other 3 matches. And today Magnus is gonna play Giri, so that would be fun. And I want to discuss all the wins that Magnus got here, and there are plenty of those. Hold on, how many can I count? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 wins by Carlsen. That's a number. That's a great number, I must say. Let me know in the chat if you have any questions. You're welcome to ask them, or in the comments below if you're watching it after the stream is over. It has been 5 rounds. Round number 5 is going to be today. There are 8 players, and so hold on a second. They play 4 rapid games. So Magnus played 16 games. Well, maybe including tie breaks. But 8 wins is an impressive number. It's an impressive number. So let us start with the one against Hikaru. Let me see if you can see my screen well. You can see my face. Thank you for watching. All right. So let's see the pieces moving. The pieces are moving. Apparently Hikaru prepared this line because he beat Alireza with this one. E3, knight, bd7. He's not afraid to play closed position with not so much counterplay. There are plenty of games in database. So the tricks here are the following. So white has more space and black needs to go b6, a5 and exchange that bad bishop. Otherwise black would be in huge trouble. And the logical move here is bishop d3. However, after b6, b4, a5, a3, black can go bishop a6 immediately. The bishop gets exchanged. With h3 move, white wants to gain a tempo. So white wants black to go b6, b4, a5, a3, which is exactly what happened in the game. And now bishop a6, white can gain a tempo, and h3 is a useful move in these positions. So Hikaru plays h6. This is like a game of chicken. Who chickens out first? And here Carlsen played bishop d3. And Hikaru for some reason didn't go bishop a6. Maybe he confused some lines. He went bishop to, in the next game that he had, shortly after that, he played bishop to a6 immediately. So bishop b7, castle, queen c8, rook goes to e1, slightly improving the position, bishop to c2. So here you can see what Carlsen did, and Hikaru paid the full price for that. That bad bishop on a6 is now alive, because white were in time to move away the rook. White moved away the rook, bishop a6, and now bishop can go to c2, and that's it. White is much, much better. For some reason my stockfish is really slow. Maybe it's hard for my computer to transmit, to do all this restreaming as well as running the engine. So maybe I'll that's too bad. Maybe I'll have to use the cloud engine. No, it's better. I don't know why. It's just one time I run it, it's doing very well, and now it's not doing very well. The whole idea of this one is white capped the bishops. White capped the bad bishop in black's position, And even if it goes to c4, it's still a bad piece. After knight d2, for example, black would have to go b5. White can always even take that bishop. And if pawn takes, it's b5, white is crushing. And if d takes c4, I think there was a very good game by Ding, if I remember correctly. After e4, e5, knight is going to d6, black is completely lost. So this is the problem of Hikaru's loss of a tempo. The bishop is here, and I'm not sure if I can help black in this position. So he went rook e8, rook c1. There are plenty of good moves for white here. Bottom line is that bad bishop, it's shooting into empty space. This is a great bishop. White has more space. White is much better. Rook c1, takes. Apparently Magnus wanted to keep as many pieces as possible. Bishop d8, rook went back to a1. After the exchanges usually favor white. Bishop to c7, queen d2. Well, apparently there were some better moves, but let's just remember that that this is rapid chess. This is rapid chess, and not many players can perform really well under those circumstances. Queen d2, and now letting Hikaru break through with e5, and after all the captures, that is still a bad bishop. Queen d4, rook e8 and e4, there's a weakness on c6, and white eventually gets to that weakness. Apparently black should have played bishop to c4, which is not an obvious choice to me, and I think black is still in trouble because e5 always in the air, d5 pawn is, you can never capture with any of the pieces anymore. White is doing better, but after takes, rook d8, queen c3, we have same number of material, but due to the weakness on c6 and more active pieces, every single white's piece is more active than black's piece. White is doing much better here. After rook d5, well, apparently the conversion was not perfect, but the trend of the game was fully in white's favor. White's rook penetrated. Hikaru wanted to give up material, and this bishop ending must be lost. h4, a great move, by the way. You need to fix at least some pawns on white squares, but apparently white's king is just coming, and there's nothing black can do about that, and that was it. Positional masterpiece by Magnus Carlsen. Positional masterpiece. Let's move on to the next one. I think they played, same position, h3, h6, bishop d3. Now Hikaru tries bishop to a6. I think that just Magnus is just better in closed positions than Hikaru, with all due respect. And he outplayed him out of nothing in this game. So this is a way better way to play for black. Queen c8. This is very typical. The queen goes to b7, which is a good place for the queen. Rook goes to c8 very often. And after takes, that bishop needs to be exchanged. All very typical moves. If you're not a specialist in this one, that's what black is supposed to do, exchange all the bishops. Queen c1, Magnus trying something, takes. Usually white is succeeding in fighting for the a file. Sometimes white can abandon the a file. So, and Hikaru, well, doing very good job here, exchanging pieces, and after knight d3, f6, black is very solid. White is still better because of space. White simply has more space and more place for the knights, but the advantage is very little, and the game continues in... and now, black could have just blocked the position with b5, and I think they would just agree for a draw. But my guess is that Hikaru wanted more. Hikaru wanted more because after b4, I don't see any problem for black except this knight is trapped, but it's going to go to a4 and just stand there. And, well, the only thing white can try is to sacrifice on e4. So I think this is purely equal position. And so Hikaru maneuvered the knight to a better place. Again, b5 was good enough. I think Hikaru wanted to win. I do not know what happened here. One move shocked me a lot. So here what Carlsen did, there's one weakness on c6 and one weakness on f6. So both knights are going to attack the weakness, and very surprisingly Hikaru collapses under this pressure. This move shocked me a little bit. I do not know what he didn't like about very natural move king d6. This is very natural, king d6, knight c5, knight b8, and why would you want to have a king on d8 under all these checks? Well, b7 is still a check, if you can keep it on d6. I do not know what possibly he could not like about this one. I really don't. King d8 is immediately losing, but the fun begins here. Knight c5. So f6 is a huge weakness. There's no time for capture because I think, wait a second, why not capture on king e7? What's the problem? I think maybe I take with this one and just run with the king to b6, and this is basically unstoppable. Let me check. Well, let me check with my stockfish because, well, I also appreciate that those guys commentating Magnus Invitational, which should start in about 50 minutes. They are not using engines, so they are using their own brains, and this is much more useful, I would say. Yeah, bc5. Knight b8, b5, takes, king goes to b4, and now all white's pieces are in. Knight a7, king a6, knight c6, king a7. It looks all very logical, but apparently the winning move was to go backwards, not forward. And after here, I do not know why Magnus didn't choose this one. d4, e takes e3, knight comes back. You can stop here. Maybe he answered that in post-game analysis. Maybe knight c6 was an issue, king b6, d4, and now you can take because the knight is not in time, but the pawn is in time to promote. Maybe he thought there could be a perpetual here. I don't know. So d2, c6, d1. You know, in rapid you can see some ghosts like this, but king goes to b8, and there's no perpetual. Maybe he didn't see something like that, or maybe he thought that everything is winning here, which is exactly how it looks from this perspective. King goes to a7, f6 is hanging, Hikaru went knight b3, king went back, and white took the pawn and eventually converted the advantage. I was very surprised to learn that there was a fantastic maneuver for black. Knight goes to d3, so knight is ready to go take that pawn. But white takes here and d5 is hanging, and it seems like if you go for f2 pawn, h3 pawn, nobody cares. White is still winning, or apparently king moves is complete dominant. But there is amazing move knight to f4, protecting d5, and if capture, it's black is the one who wins. The knight is not close enough to capture the pawn, but if king goes, king e7 attacking the knight, and if knight moves back, apparently king this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, and takes, and then only after that capture, because if you take now, apparently king c5 would be a winning. So this was extraordinarily difficult draw for Hikaru, so no wonder he did not see it with a few minutes on his clock. But this is classical win by Magnus, although not very classical, I must say. I think Hikaru wanted more, somewhere, not here, somewhere here. Like, why wouldn't you block the position completely with the b5? I do not know. Just block it and offer draw. Pawn chains in the center, amazing knight on c4. Why wouldn't you do it? Maybe he wanted a win. That's my guess. Moving on to the next game, because we have a lot. We have a lot to cover. All right. Nakamura Carlsen, and Carlsen was black. This was, I think that was the tiebreak, the infamous, not bullet, what's the name? Armageddon, where I think they didn't add extra time or to. No, wait a second. Am I confusing something? Magnus was black here. And Hikaru needed a win. Yes. Magnus was black and Hikaru needed a win. I don't remember this story. There was this story that with Armageddon where they didn't add extra time, and that was an issue, but I don't think that's this game. Anyway, so Magnus placed this very dangerous line after g4. This is in classical chess. I don't think he would play it in classical chess. For g4, it is considered very risky for black, but he has it prepared and Hikaru wasn't. So he goes for this line, and Hikaru wants to get away from preparation by knight b3, a6, and black gets amazing Scheveningen. Amazing one, because white voluntarily moved to knight to b3. I'll give you an example. So for example, if white castles and black plays not a very good move a6, for example king h1, Come on, Stockfish. It is very, okay, let's say queen c7, a4. It is very typical. One of the main lines here is to go bishop d7, threaten capture bishop moves, and after knight b3, black goes b6, and then comes back with the bishop. So black loses basically 2 tempos, or at least 1 full tempo, to ask white to go to b3. And here white goes voluntarily like this. That is not a good way to play. And black gets 2 extra tempos. 2, not maybe even 2.5, because queen didn't go to c7. So bishop goes to b7, bishop f3. Black has an amazing position. I prefer black in this position. This attack is not going anywhere because white lost all this time. Knight a5, knight c4, rook c8, all of this is very typical. e5. So Magnus just shows all the ideas in the best Garry Kasparov years. You can find lots of games how to play this Scheveningen, and Magnus shows it in a blitz style. Where do the knights go? How do you that you can take that knight on d5, give up that good bishop? Well, queen takes maybe was better. After pawn takes, usually the position is great for black. Well, here specifically the pawn is hanging, and Hikaru needed a win, so he actually did this. Hikaru didn't get extra time here. Hikaru didn't get extra minute, and this was an Armageddon, and that's exactly why you play white, to have extra minute. He didn't have extra minute, and that was arbiter's mistake, but they didn't redo it at any point. So he tried to go for a win, which is obviously lost. And that was it, and Magnus won the match. Let's go to the next game. Carlsen Firuza. All right, let's see. Ragozin variation. And bishop to f4. It is a very interesting line because it's not popular at all. It is not at all popular to do this. Bishop to f4. If you look at this position, almost 5,000 times. Bishop g5, queen a4 check. Bishop f4 is the third option. Knight c6. One of the moves black can do a lot. Knight c6. I find it weird to go knight c6 voluntarily. Usually you want to go c5 in these positions, but I'm guessing bishop takes b8 is an issue in some lines. So we are still apparently in the Nizhny Grishchuk game from this year. f5, and now, yeah, g3, castle, and Magnus should have played f4 maybe here, but he decided to kick the bishop first and then play f4. In my view, the bishop on a3 was misplaced anyway, so there was no need to do that. There was no need to do that at all. Yeah, f4 or moving the knight. Rook g1. Oh my goodness, that's a weird suggestion by my Stockfish. Rook g1. So he kicked the bishop and he played f4, and knight went to a5, which was apparently a good place for the knight. Bishop g2, and now white has to go c4, because otherwise black can dominate on both sides of the board. If you go knight f3, knight goes to c4, white opens up the center, takes, pawn takes, bishop e6, yeah, queen e7 maybe was better, but I still prefer white here a lot. So here what surprised me was one decision by Alireza. A lot of people are saying that he's next Magnus's opponent for the match in the distant future. For now I see that he's really good in blitz, very good in rapid, and yet not so good as, of course, the top level guys in classical chess. And here I want to give you an example. So here the following decision: he took this knight, opened up this monster bishop, and then played just rook g8 as if nothing happens, and Magnus knows that this is a monster bishop, this is weak, the king is exposed, white dominates on dark squares. So strategical misplay, like rook a to c8 was a normal move. Just develop the rook, get away from the long diagonal, or rook g8. Both moves were good. Why would you need to take it first and then play rook g8? It's inconsistent to me, and this was the reason he lost after bishop f4. Basically, he lost a very good game in like 2 moves. Like one mistake, and another one you have to remove this bishop and suffer for many moves, because you have two weaknesses and one huge pawn on e6 basically. And after rook g8, that was hard. White is just can do whatever white wants. This knight looks nice, but it's completely cut off by this bishop. White is just dominating. White can do whatever white wants, and eventually he just blundered bishop back to h3. I'm not sure what Alireza blundered here. What did he blunder? Takes, some g1 mate he was expecting, or linear mate. I don't know what he was expecting, but this is completely lost position. And he lost, basically in 2 moves, Alireza lost a decent position. Moving on. Carlsen, Firuza, another game. Same position. And now he tries bishop to f5, queen b3, knight c6. So this position happened many times. Caruana Anand apparently this year. I didn't even know this one. And now knight h4, a novelty by Magnus. I'm not sure if that was intentional, if that was prepared. I do not know. So let's go ahead and see what happened. Bishop moved back, and now white simply develops the bishop to a good diagonal. It makes all the sense in the world to me. a5, white castles, knight h5, here takes. And this is the problem. When you develop the knight on c6, the pawn should be on c6 in these positions. And that knight is usually misplaced. Bishop went back, and b7 pawn is usually poisoned in these positions. Knight b4, the bishop is hanging, and the queen can almost always be infinitely attacked, or maybe more. So pawn is poisoned. Knight simply went back, knight b4, bishop went back. c5, you have to see counterplay. a3, c4, black wants some space, but leaves this square on b5. If that pawn was on a7, black would be fine. But here it's not the case. b3, knight here, takes. And after a4, you can say white is strategically winning here, because white has control of over the center, and there are no passed pawns going on the queen side. So the only chance for black is dynamics, and that's where Alireza is great. So here he goes dynamically, bishop b4, queen c2, well maybe rook c1 was better. Queen c2, now he takes, he jumps with the knight. Pawn on c4, of course, cannot be taken because of an bishop on e6, rook c8, rook c1, knight b4, he starts jumping with pieces, well the engine doesn't appreciate it, but it worked. Knight, rook c3, knight d5, draw offer, of course Magnus doesn't want a draw, c3, knight d3, queen b6, so he tries to compensate for strategical flaws in his position by dynamic play. And now Magnus should have played knight c5. Why didn't he play it? He played rook b1. I don't know, how can you not play c2 in this position? Maybe I'm missing some variation. Maybe rook b2, and they both may have blundered queen a6, which is very unusual to run into the pin, basically, or discovered attack. Knight f4 is not scary. Bishop c4, knight takes b4, loses for white. Queen takes e2, queen d3. Hold on a second. Of course, a takes b, attacking the queen. This is maybe something they both blundered. So a takes b is the move, because c2, queen a6 looks logical, but a takes b, one may blunder, counter-attacking the queen. After bishop f5, white simply neutralized black's attack, and then slowly converted a full pawn into a full point. So another masterpiece by Carlsen. And well, Alireza did feel the danger, but a little bit calculation failed him. All right. Caruana Carlsen, how many games left? Feels like, okay, this is game number 6, 3 more games. So this is win for black with Magnus. He chooses this very, very questionable line for black, and this move bishop to e6 is just he says, just bring me d5. All come here. Like, obviously he had something prepared, or at least he had an idea of what to do in this position and how to continue. And he expected d5. Fabi didn't want to do it, so he played b3. And now d takes, knight c6, all pieces get out. So Fabi tries to prove black wrong by jumping with the knight. Knight goes to c5, f6, knight c5. Very logical to prove the setup wrong, because f6 was basically unstoppable. And now queen c8, and black is doing very fine. Takes, takes, slightly worse pawn structure, but black can compensate with development and active pieces. Bishop e2, sacrificing the exchange, very typical for any fianchetto bishop on g7, although not very typical for open positions. If the position is open, very often it may not work. With closed center, it can work. I think there is something wrong with my transmission. Maybe that's because my computer is using all its powers to run the stockfish. Bishop f5, castle, knight d7, knight d3, takes, takes. So Magnus takes that poisoned exchange, and after knight e5 he could have been... So this moment bothered me a little bit. Bishop d4, knight d7, very logical. Takes, takes. Why wouldn't you go rook d2? What he didn't like? Bishop f3 probably, 2 pawns are hanging. But now after, okay, b7 is not hanging, rook d8, and black has enormous activity, nobody cares about the pawn. He makes this move c6, which is strategically is fine, because you block the bishop, you protect the pawn. The problem is, the queen is just going to the king side, h5, white could have played c5, move another bishop here, moves this queen g3, black's king is in trouble. But Fabio played this too slow move, rook e1, just like in his match against Magnus. c5 was much faster, just immediate threat. Rook e1, king f7, again c5 was required, queen g3, and now rook d2, and white's attack is too slow, black penetrates. Actually, this is funny, bishop h5, my engine says bishop h5 equality, it loses. I do not know what it does in c. Bishop h5 takes, bishop c3, it's just simply rook e2. I do not know why is it suggesting. Another example where engines are failing us. Bishop h5, g takes h5, bishop c3, I go rook e2. You can give 2 checks and win my rook on a8, but then you lose the bishop. Okay, depth 24, still suggesting. This is completely losing. Bishop h5 completely loses because of takes, and it immediately understands this one. Here there's rook e2. I do not know what it had in mind. I really don't. Maybe check and rook d1. Maybe queen h8, king d7, rook d1, king c7, bishop e5, but it's just takes. So I don't know what engine blundered in this position. You can, if you take here, I take, check, here, takes, I have queen e3 check and wins the bishop, or apparently bishop e4 is even faster. So bishop h5 is losing, and white is in trouble, and Magnus just converted to a full point. So I want to admire Magnus's choice of Alekhine. Next game, Carlsen Caruana, and now with white. Let's see what was going on here. Aha. This is just fantastic, I must say. This is a theoretical position, many games here. Takes, takes. So this is like Queen's Gambit accepted, but including moves a6, a4 usually favors black, because b4 square is weakened. Bishop e3 with the idea of knight e5. Very interesting approach by Magnus in my estimation. Knight goes to e5. Usually you have to act. When you have isolated pawn, you need to act faster. You need to do something, because black simply would complete the development, and you have a weak pawn and a weak square. Knight goes to e5 with the idea to ruin pawn structure for black. For example, I don't know what's this suggestion, bishop d6 by Stockfish. I just take, and black has worse pawn structure. White can, in many lines, go a5, and then knight can go to c5 or b6. Well, not necessarily a5 here, but bishop d6, that's a weird suggestion. And after bishop d7, Magnus just takes 2 bishops and says, I have 2 bishops, I have an open position and 2 bishops, and improves the king, exchange the rooks. Okay, not yet, sorry, my bad. Put pressure, put more pressure, exchange rooks, take a pawn. With 2 bishops, you don't really need rooks. You just need fight on both sides of the board. King, and now it's time to move the king And that was it. The king just walked in. And now the beauty of having two bishops, as they say, is at appropriate moment you can remove one of them, you can exchange one of them. And that's it. White got to that weak pawn on a5 and game was over. Okay, Carlsen MVL. Is it the last game? I think it is. It was played a few days ago. So MVL started playing Slav, and this line in particular. And here it was, well, MVL had a good position, but he blundered. So there are plenty of games on this position. So here there's a debate, you know, you can go bishop g6 now, or you can go bishop e4, f3, bishop g6. So white has a free move f3, and it is not clear in whose favor including that free move is. On one hand, white weakened the dark squares, for example, this diagonal is now a little bit compromised. But on the other hand, white can push e4 easily, and there is no knight e4 moves for black. My judgment is that who plays better can use that instability in the position. Bishop d2, white is just developing pieces, simply taking the bishop, queen b3, queen c7, and long castle. h2 pawn is for now poisoned. Takes b5, played quickly by MVL. Bishop moves back to e2. Lots of games. a6, black is preparing c5, so white tries to address it with knight to e4. Knight takes, pawn takes, c5 nevertheless. The king is on the open file, so king moves away, and knight d7, knight c6, and c4 were tried here. Knight c6 played by MVL. I'm not sure if e5 is Magnus's preparation. It was not obvious. I don't remember from the stream. You can sometimes tell from the stream whether it was a preparation. There were 0 games, at least in online database, with e5 move. Maybe there are better choices, but this depth 21 is embarrassing to give any judgment about the decision. e5, very logical. White opens up the diagonal for the bishop. Simple and logical. Maybe not so good, but very logical. C takes d is a very bad decision, apparently. But castling short, oh come on, castle short into h4, h5? Really? I don't believe it. I don't think it could work. It goes queen c2, rook c8, for example, and now h4, c takes d, and can I go h5 now? It looks extraordinarily risky to me. Maybe I take first. It looks very risky. It's some weird zeros on a very low depths. I wouldn't believe it until I checked all the lines for white. Short castle looks very dangerous. Well, rook c8 looks logical, but white would go rook c1, and it could have transposed. At some point you have to do something about the king, and it is very dangerous. So takes, bishop f3, rook c8, rook c1, and this is a very nice moment. Queen b6 doesn't look like a logical move to me, because you're still pinned. Why don't I stream on Twitch? I am streaming, but I haven't. I think it may be my first stream. I have a stream, a Twitch channel. It's like my name. I can drop a link here. I'm only starting to do it. Thank you for asking. And queen b6 still wouldn't solve much problems, apparently, because there's a pin. The knight is still pinned. You have to castle. I go queen c2. What do? Knight a7. Then I just move the queen to the king side, and that is a win. And otherwise, it's not good. Queen c8, knight f3. Here takes, white wins in exchange. So black was in trouble, but queen d7 is just a blunder because of a very nice combination. Queen c2. I'm gonna turn off my stockfish. Queen c2, the only move is knight a7, and now paradoxical queen takes c8. So of course the game went like this. Here MVL was spending a lot of time trying to weigh which is worse to do, to go here and meet bishop b7 or e takes d followed by bishop b7. Huge problems for black. He decided to try to create a fortress with a knight on d5, but Magnus said no fortress today. He doesn't believe in fortresses, as he joked one time. There are lots of open files. The knight is great, but full exchange up just goes h4 with idea g4, h5 to open more files. Taking with the bishop loses. If you take with the rook, more pieces get exchanged. The rook comes in, and if you try to hold it, you are completely paralyzed. Now it's time to move the king. Black has no moves. Like white can improve the king. King b3, a4 is coming. So why didn't he go king like this? Okay, the bishop would just walk into black's position, for example, like this, and black would be running out of moves. Or maybe bishop can go to this diagonal, or bishop can go to g5. Like white is completely dominating here. Black has to go f6, and after this, the queen side is falling, and MVL decided to not suffer anymore. And we're back to game number 1. So these were all the wins by Magnus so far. Today is 26th of April. Apparently people enjoy more when I talk about engines, not the best players of the world. But there are not much material going on in the engine world. They are doing something on TCEC Championship, but not so. It's not with a very long time control, I would say. So it wraps up my stream. Thank you for watching. You can ask a question if you want now, or in the comment section on my YouTube channel. On Twitch, to get more viewers, choose chess. Thank you. But when I go to select games, there is no chess. When I go to select games, thank you for your suggestion. Okay, I'll still have to, as a topic, to choose chess as a topic. Okay, thank you. I would do it in my next Twitch YouTube stream. Thank you for watching. Thank you, everyone. Take care, and subscribe to my channel, both YouTube and Twitch. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye bye.